So before we get started, if we could just remind you, if you enjoy these videos, we'd really appreciate it if you clicked on the subscribe button to our YouTube channel, or just hit the little thumbs up there for the like button. Also, please remember that these are not forecasts that I'm giving. These are just thoughts that come to me that of things that could affect the market one way or another, either positively or negatively. So the reason I don't like to forecast is because I'm simply not qualified to. I'm a realtor. They didn't teach us anything about economics in real estate school, and when I see the economists unable to get everything right, I really don't think that any of us realtors, unless they happen to have their economics degrees, are qualified to predict where the market is going. I can tell you exactly how we got here and where we are, but as to where things are going in the future, if you know, I'd like you to share it with me. Anyhow, so let's start with some positive stuff, first of all. Some things that are happening in Canada, in British Columbia, and more specifically in Vancouver that could influence our market next year. Before we do that, the number one thing is population growth and immigration in Canada. Right after World War II, in 1945, there was only 400,000 people here. So in, what is that, less than 80 years, 74 years, the population has gone up almost 7 times. By 1986, there was 1.4 million people for Expo. And 2000, there was 2 million people. Today, in 2019, there's 2.7 million approximately, and they say by 2040, there will be 4 million people in a city that is completely landlocked and has no more property to build on. So what that's going to do, and I'm not talking about for a lifestyle or anything else, but from a real estate point of view, there's going to be a continued high demand for properties. Unemployment across Canada is relatively low, and we also have 2 elections coming up this year that could influence our market one way or the other. The first one's going to happen January 30th in Nanaimo. There's a by-election over there, and if the Liberals were to win a seat that has been predominantly NDP for 30 or 40 years, that could have an effect on the market in a positive fashion. It might give developers and business people in general a little more confidence in the local government, in that they are willing to come back and invest in British Columbia. The second one is a federal election that's going to happen next October, and what I've been reading in articles and listening to people speak, they think that politicians, once the election has started, are going to try and bribe, that's probably not the best word, but try and entice the millennial voters, which is becoming a big part of the voting segment, into giving them enticements for first-time buyers, maybe easing up on some of the things that have been implemented over the last few years to slow down the market strictly for that first-time buyer segment. So those are some of the positive things and some of the good things that we could see happening to the market. So as far as my concerns go, first thing was the last month in December was our slowest December that we've had on record since 2000. 2000 was pretty much the bottom of the market when we had our slowdown between 1994 and 2000 before the markets took off in 2001. Now I don't want to sound like I'm beating the same old drum, but I think we need to go back 2.5 years here to August of 2016 and again quickly talk about the government, the things the government has done to try and slow down the market. So in August of 2016, they implemented the foreign buyers tax, which pretty much in most areas slowed down, well, not pretty much, it did slow down in most areas the higher ends of the detached housing market. About a year ago, we had the mortgage stress test put in, which we have talked about in several of our previous videos. We've had increased property taxes, speculation taxes, empty home taxes, and we've also had 5 interest rate hikes over the last 18 months, and we have 2 more expected next year. Now, as far as the interest rate hike started 18 months back, economists usually say that it takes about 18 months to feel the effects. So it's been 18 months, and we're going to see if they have any more of a negative effect on the market during the spring here. The next thing that we want to talk about that could influence the market in a negative fashion is the slowing global economy. It's not just BC, it's happening, BC or Canada, it's happening to most of the economies around the world. Also, one of the other concerns is debt for Canadians. Debt for Canadians is at an all-time high. Now, one of the reasons they try and explain it is that the mortgage money is so cheap, so people have been using essentially their homes like ATM machines because the money has been so cheap in the 2 to 3% range. What I've read with some people who what they're forecasting is as interest rates start to rise, people will move away from that to reduce some of their debt if they have the option to doing so. So they typically say when interest rates are low, debt is high. So we're going to find out in the coming years if that's true or not. One of the bigger concerns I have, and we're going to do a video later this month on it, is the pre-sale condo market. This could be kind of like the sleeping time bomb that may develop over the next year or two. One of the things we don't know about is how many people have actually bought pre-sale condos that do not have the ability to close. And we're only going to find out when they don't have the ability to close when a lot of these buildings that are under construction complete and are finished. So if we start to see a whole bunch of people not able to complete, I'm concerned about what that's going to do to the developers. If a lot of these people live in foreign countries, the developers will have no recourse, etc., etc., etc. So we're going to get into this in greater detail in another video that we release later this month. So, in closing, I want you to remember that these are not forecasts. These are the thoughts and musings of a guy that's just sold real estate for a long time and has this stuff going through his head all day long. Vancouver is an amazing place to live, and it's a world-class city. It's no different than New York or London or Hong Kong now. And one of the things that I will say is prices aren't ever coming back to where they were in 1990 or 1998 or 2005. We're in a world-class city now, and it's going to cost money if you want to live here, unfortunately. Our parents were able to buy here back whenever they bought in the 1940s or 50s or 60s. My generation moved to the suburbs. Our children's generation is going to be moving inland. They're going to be moving to Vancouver Island, to northern BC, or to the interior of BC. So, unfortunately, for those of us that don't want the place to change, change is inevitable and it's going to happen. So, I'm Jamie Hooper with RE/MAX Crest. I'm glad you took the time to listen to this. If you don't mind, again, me reminding you to, if you enjoyed the video, to either click subscribe or just hit the like button, and we'll look forward to talking to you again soon.